With us right now, Elias Zepeda. Elias, you are the CEO of needclientsnow.com. Well, that sounds like a good, that's the brand kind of does a lot of the work for you. It's very clear. You explain exactly what you do, and who doesn't want more clients?
Exactly. That's the exact reason why we came up with that name. Getting client acquisition and getting clients is something that's a lifeline. It's a lifeblood of a business. And so, unfortunately, so many businesses don't really succeed past like the 2-3 year mark. And if you really analyze that, it's because they didn't really have a path to conversion. They didn't really have a customer acquisition system. And so we wanted to make it as easy to remember. And that's why we branded the name as Need Clients Now.
Yeah. All right. So give me a high level overview. How does it work? What do you do?
Well, we specialize in building sales funnels for the customers that we work with across the country. So what a sales funnel is, it's coming up with the strategy and the customer journey of finding customers and converting them into actually paying for your services and to continue paying for your services. So it's a strategy and it's a journey, and that's what we do. And there are many different types of sales funnels, but as a done for you service, we understand our client's business model, we understand their target audience, and then we subsequently make recommendations based off of their business model, their price points, their target audience, and so forth. And then we offer a done for you service. And so what that means is we're actually gonna produce, execute, drive traffic to the funnel so that they have leads coming in on a consistent basis. And most importantly, they actually have customers coming in on a consistent basis. And that's a service that we provide for companies across the country.
Yeah. And again, there aren't too many, the famous quote, right? There aren't too many problems that can't be solved with more customers, more revenue.
That's right. That's right. Lots of small companies and even large companies, they need leads, they need customers, they need people that are raising their hand and they're saying, hey, I'm interested in the services that you offer, right? And so that's kind of the whole premise of inbound marketing. And it's an amazing thing when you produce a funnel that's converting. It really makes a significant difference in a small business when you're launching a funnel, when you're driving traffic to it, and you have this predictable, repeatable process of actually talking to customers and getting them to purchase the services that you're offering.
Yeah. So are pretty much everyone you work with, are you actually, for the initial kind of first step, and I like actually you broke this down into the process for results. So we'll just kind of go through these 1, 2, 3, 4. So the first one, advertising. Talk about that, because again, advertising is going to be different depending on who you're working with and who they're trying to reach out to, because again, not all ads are designed equally for the right purposes. But where does advertising fit in?
Advertising, if we're talking about top of funnel, right? We're talking about how are we going to have people find out about us, find out about our product, find out about our service, right? And so we predominantly use social media channels like Instagram, like Facebook, like YouTube, like Google, and so on, right? And so this isn't just a channel, one social channel isn't applied to everybody. Again, it's really important to really understand where are your customers spending their time, and how long are they spending on these channels, and what exactly are they looking for, right? And so someone that is spending time on YouTube, they're going to want a different experience than someone on LinkedIn, of course. And so when it comes to top of funnel, social media advertising presents a phenomenal opportunity for you to put out your ad, put out your message, and have people learn about you, learn about what you're offering, and then guide them to that next step of the funnel, of course, right? And so when it comes to social media ads, just the ability to be able to find, tune, and target who you want to look at your ad, that's a huge game changer. When I first started in this industry, we didn't really have that granularity in being able to target people based off of their location, based off of the fan pages that they follow, based off of their behaviors, and so on. And so for a lot of small and large businesses today, social media ads does present a phenomenal opportunity. It's just a matter of understanding which one is a right one for your business. Yeah. And you gauge that by understanding where your customers are spending their time.
Yeah. Where would you see advertising not necessarily be a good fit?
Well, it depends on your price point, right? And so like one of the funnels that we specialize in, and we do on a almost daily basis, is like a webinar funnel. And for it really is contingent on your price points, right? So I had a company that sold T-shirts and say, hey, can you guys do a webinar for me? And the answer is absolutely not. It doesn't make any fiscal or economical sense for you to spend that much time in producing a webinar and spending an hour with someone when your product price point is, I would say even below $500. It doesn't make any fiscal sense for you to have that type of activity. And so it really depends on your price point, but at the end of the day, really gauging your target audience, engaging and understanding your avatar at a fine level. That's really what's going to make the biggest difference in your top of funnel marketing. But there are platforms like Clubhouse, right? And that's a very new and it's an awesome platform. But it really just depends on where your customers are spending their time at the end of the day.
Yeah. And so when we're advertising, what is it that we're promoting? Where are we leading people to, or what's the goal of that ad?
The goal of the ad is to really is to speak to your target audience, and for that target audience to understand what is the problem that you solve and what are the benefits that you're offering, right? So now we're getting into kind of the next step here. First you have the ad, and then you have the second step of what we call a sales funnel. And that second step can be a variety of different things. The ad can be promoting something that is a valuable content, like a lead magnet. So you may have something very enticing that your prospect or target audience is going to really be interested in consuming. So oftentimes we see blueprints, we see ebooks, we see video series, we see all different types of lead magnets. But traditionally, when you're advertising, you'd want to provide as much value as possible. And then you obviously want to edify yourself and edify the company. And so there's a lot of different processes involved in having the right type of copy on your ad, and then the right type of lead magnet. And that in itself is a whole another ball game to really explore, and finding out what is your target audience really looking for, and what do they consider most valuable that you're going to be able to provide. Because at the end of the day, it's an even exchange. They have to give you their contact info in exchange of that valuable content. So if you're not finding out what's really taking their interest and really offering something that is high value, they're not going to want to give you their contact info. And that's one of the first primary steps of a sales funnel, is collecting that person's information.
Yeah. I think a lot of people screw that up. Like, I think that we, particularly, if we are the consultant, the service provider, I think we are far too optimistic of how much people are going to absolutely love to give up their email address for, 5 quick tips that you too can be a winner, right? It's like, I don't need that. Like, I can read a blog article about that for free, and I don't need to give anyone my email address, because contact information, that's currency. Like, I don't give up that information very easily because I don't want to be bugged. Right? I don't want to be sold to. And I think that's the fear that I think most customers have is, is they don't want to be pestered, or they just don't want an uncomfortable situation.
Absolutely. And that's why it's so important to really know your target audience and know their desires and know their fears, right? And then you want to test your lead magnet. So you're absolutely right. It's not just, I'm going to put out an ebook. That's not really how it works. You should be serving your customers, and you should know your customer and your target audience so well that you exactly know that this is going to be really enticing. And then you want to test that as well. Not every lead magnet's going to perform to its great extent. So you want to really understand exactly what the customer wants, and you want to have that in the available medium that they want too. So sometimes not everybody wants to read a really long book, right? And so you have to really adapt the lead magnet based off of your target audience desires, and in the channels and in the mediums that they want that in.
Yeah. All right. So let's say that you got yourself a good lead magnet, and your audience really, truly does want that. I mean, I can tell you again, I think that we also have to be very careful that lead magnets that may have been in vogue 3 to 5 years ago, consumers get tired of stuff. right? And so if you're trying to funnel everybody into a webinar, it may or may not work. It's one of those things you have to test, but just know that, that perfect webinar formula or whatever it is, I'm not naming anyone out by name by saying that phrase. But look, there's a lot of outdated advice on that. And I think, Elias, from my perspective, I think that the most important thing to remember, right, is authenticity is I always err on the side of authenticity, even if it means, okay, it's going to be a much longer funnel. It's going to be a much longer relationship build, but I don't want people to be uncomfortable. I don't want to ask for marriage on a first date. And I think that if we're truly honoring the relationship, we'll be aware of that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So you want to be able to nurture these individuals, and you also want to be able to also indoctrinate, nurture, but really show the value that you're providing, and you want to be able to highlight your testimonials. And so at the end of the day, it really comes down to providing the maximum amount of value. But back to your webinar comment, you'd be surprised. And so there are a lot of industries that say, well, webinars are so outdated, and maybe I've been through hundreds of webinars throughout the years. There are still so many different industries where some of these people, some of the target audiences, have never even attended a webinar, don't even know what a webinar is. And so we've seen that because there's a niche that we work very heavily in, and the webinar campaign and an actual webinar absolutely is converting like crazy. And so it really depends on the target audience, and if it's not marketers, then some of these tactics may be completely new to them.
Yeah. Okay. So we got let's say we got something like, yes, my audience absolutely wants this thing. It is absolutely worth their time, their attention, possibly their contact information, right? And so where do we go from there? And by the way, how do you differentiate advertising versus prospecting?
Advertising is we primarily use social media advertising, right? So there are definitely some similarities in advertising and prospecting, but the act of advertising is you're paying to acquire that customer, you're paying to acquire that lead, and then prospecting is really nurturing that lead. And so there's definitely a lot of similarities involved with that. But after you get through the phase of you have that contact info, then you need to decide what is the ideal next step in order for you to get to that phase of conversion. And again, it depends on so many different factors, like your product price point. It depends on the target audience and many other different factors. But using the webinar as an example, it's a phenomenal opportunity for you to spend 30, 45 minutes, an hour, and really sharing your story, and really sharing the benefits that you're providing, and really highlighting the service that you're providing, sharing your case studies and testimonials and so forth. And so really having that time frame to really connect with someone, it's extremely invaluable. It's extremely invaluable to have that much time when you're connecting with your prospects, especially if it's live, right? People appreciate that. And so as long as you are really solving a problem, as long as you have the testimonials and the case studies to prove it, and you have a good story that you're sharing with people, a percentage of the people that are attending your webinar, they're going to connect with that. And then if your offer is dialed in, then a percentage are going to be purchasing that product. And that's what we see day in and day out with the campaigns that we're running.
Yeah. Do you attend many webinars as a guest?
In my free time, if there's something that is really enticing to me, I absolutely would. I haven't, and in several months, maybe, in my industry, like in the marketing industry, again, we've been through webinars so many different times, but if it's something that's really enticing and is going to be worth my time, I will be attending. But for our clients in different industries, we're on average seeing about 40% attendance. And so that's testament to like, hey, webinars are still working. We're still able to get 40% of registrants that are showing up, and they're spending an hour of their time to learn the content, learn the value that the customer's providing.
Yeah, I didn't mean to. By the way, I'm like, I hope that question came about right. I didn't mean to be confrontational in any way. I'm just curious because I wonder. I wonder because listen, part of I'm not good at, like, for me, I am just not good at advertising, selling on webinars, selling from stages. I know other people are fantastic at it. Like, And again, part of that's probably like who we sell to. We're selling, these are really larger engagements. So I take the time to spend personal time with folks. And so I'm always I'm always open to hearing, who's cracked the nut, like who's figured out something that I can't figure it out. So, but then again, it's like, I think we also have to be true to our personalities as well. Right. And so it's like, listen, if you're uncomfortable cold calling, don't cold call. Like you got to find something that you enjoy. And I think that's part of it too. So talk about like personality and, intention or, kind of purpose or, all that other stuff of the client. Like you're not going to make a client do something that they absolutely hate.
Absolutely. And this has happened several times where perhaps the webinar funnel is the right type of funnel based off of their price point and their target audience and the business model that they have. But the presenter, the owner of the company, is not comfortable doing that. And in that case, we need to find a separate way to really highlight and to generate sales for that client. Mm-hmm. But you're absolutely right. It really takes a lot of effort and talent and skill. And that's something that you're not really born with. I feel it's something you can really start learning. And so one of the suggestions that we have, if we are doing a webinar funnel as an example, we'll recommend that the client start doing daily videos so that they become comfortable on video. Because if it's their first engagement speaking publicly, even if it's online, it can be nerve-wracking for a lot of small business owners. And so there are exercises and things that you can do to build that skill set if that's something that you truly desire. But we've also worked with companies and business owners that said, I do not want to do that. I don't feel comfortable doing that. And then we'll need to find a different path to conversion. And of course, there's so many different paths to conversion that can be explored, so many different types of funnel types as well. But it really comes down to the skill set, the willingness from the small business owner to learn that new skill set and practice it. And several other different factors as well.
So you talk about on your website, in terms of like follow-up, which is critical, right? Because fortune's in the follow-up. And, you talk about automated stuff, automated emailing, automated SMS messaging, automated ringless voicemail, and, delivering that as a welcome guest, not annoying pest. I wonder though, if there's anyone who kind of like, I have a big question mark over my head right now. I'm like, well, wait a minute. If someone's just automating me, I feel like that's kind of annoying. And again, forgive me, Elias, I don't mean to it's just I want to understand how folks have figured this out and mastered this, because again, that's the kind of thing, I know that doesn't work for me, but then again, I'm not, I'm probably not, not everybody's ideal client. Tell me, how do you handle that in a tactful way, in a way that isn't annoying? And again, when we're talking about automation, it's the dream from a marketer's perspective to automate, but then again, we still want to honor that relationship. So we want to make sure that we're honoring our potential customers in a way that they don't feel like, you're just a number to me. Because there's some elements of the bro-y marketing world I'm not a fan of, and a lot of it comes down to it's just numbers, baby. These are just numbers. And that just doesn't sit well with me. I just don't like that. But again, I might not be like most people. I don't know.
No, I think what's interesting is you mentioned that, but to get on this podcast, you're automating these videos, and I found those videos to be incredibly helpful. So I think that what better example to mention than to mention how you are automating these podcast interviews, because at the end of the day, it comes down to the type of content, right? I watch all of these videos that you've provided to prepare me for this podcast, and that's a perfect example of automation being done correctly. You're providing value, you're doing it tactically, right? You're showing your personality and you're getting someone prepared for the next type of activity. So that's a perfect example of automation. You're automating your emails. I got a text message 2 hours ago that was automated that is reminding me to join this podcast interview. So that's a perfect example. At the end of the day, if you don't want to be a pest, it comes down to the type of content, the type of conversation that you're having with your prospects and with your customers. And so if you're sending out messages like, hey, make sure you purchase this, right? That's how you are being perceived as a pest. But if you're actually sending well-written, right? Well-written, work with a copywriter if you're not a good copywriter. But if you're sending these warm, story-based types of messages that is really helping the clients understand the next step that you want them to take, and it's done strategically, that's really what's going to make the difference in being perceived as an invited guest versus a pest.
Yeah. All right. Great answer. All right. And then again, that's really important when we're evaluating what our communication is if you receive that same communication, how would it make you feel? And so that's why I think, we have to really take a look at, do I say this or do I say that? And it's, again, putting yourself in your customer's perspective, what's going to be appropriate for where the relationship is. And so great. Okay, so eventually, Elias, obviously we need to get people, oh man, we got to make sales. But wait a minute, we're out of time. Elias, okay, listen, I'm going to have to close up here because we didn't get to kind of push people over the finish line. Darn it. All right. So your website, needclientsnow.com. Someone's been listening to this, enjoyed the conversation, and like, okay, what are my next steps? They can go to your website, needclientsnow.com. There's a big orange Let's Talk button. I would assume that would be a great place for people to go next.
Absolutely. Thanks, Josh, so much for the opportunity to be here and to share about the power of a sales funnel and the power of automation. What we're offering is really opportunity for us to learn about your business and for us to really strategize the best funnel that we feel is going to generate results for your business based off of, again, your business model, your business plan, and your goals as well. And so that's our offer right now, that we will hop on a call and it'll be a real strategy call. We're really going to understand the business, and we will map out on that call the customer journey that we feel is going to drive the best results. And so that's something that we're offering and we're happy to offer to your listeners.
Brilliant. All right. Elias Zepeda. Again, your website is needclientsnow, if I haven't said it enough.com. Thank you so much, Elias, for joining us. I really, really enjoyed the conversation.
Thanks so much, Josh. Appreciate it.